What is going on, everybody? Welcome back into the Fantasy Coaches Podcast, guys. I am your host, as always, guys, Coach Steve. We are back for another fantastic episode for you guys. Week 8 is almost over. Got Monday night football going on right now, or about to go on right now, and it's time to talk waiver wire pickups for Week 9. Obviously, Week 8 is almost over, and now we're heading on to Week 9, guys. So it's time to look at some of these players that you could use to help pick up for your Week 9 plays. Obviously, there's 4 teams on bye this week, but there's some heavy hitters: the Eagles, the Bucks, 2 teams that have a lot of fantasy potential in them, and a couple other teams who I can't think of off the top of my head at the moment. But it's time to talk waivers. As you guys always know how we do it. We do, for the most part, every player under 50% ownership throughout multiple platforms and whatnot here. And these are the top 10, not in any particular order per se, but in a pretty good order, I would say so. Starting here at the top. Obviously, we all heard the news of Cam Scatterboo and that terrible foot injury. Oh, and that was tough to watch, really tough to watch. But that opens the door for a guy like Tyrone Tracy Jr., who we all remember last year as a rookie was a solid, flexible option for us in fantasy, even potential RB2 at times. And now he jumps back into the 60-40 split between him and probably Devin Singletary. Well, Tyrone Tracy is likely going to see the RB1 role in New York. And you should expect him to be a little bit better. Now, again, this past week wasn't all that great. He didn't really run that efficiently after, Cam Scatterboo went down, but the Giants were losing. It tends to happen. The run game usually falls apart a little bit, and that's an unfortunate part about it. But now he's the RB1 there. He's offers you RB2, RB3 value probably the rest of the season in a better Giants offense here. Yeah, and if he's out there, he's probably your number 1 pickup because you're probably hurting at running back right now and a lot of other things. So moving on to our next player here is Chisholm Dyke. They call him DK. Got me confused plenty of times with DK Metcalf, but they call him DK. So he's seen an uptick in targets the last few weeks, and this is more of like a 1-week rental for me personally. With Dyke, Calvin Ridley's been hurt. He's been banged up, and obviously not playing the last 2 weeks, which led to Dyke seeing a big workload increase, 15 targets over the last 2 games here now. And this week, he really started performing really well. And the Titans are going to be playing catch up constantly down the stretch for the rest of the season here. Hey, Albert, how are you? Welcome into the show. So, Dyke is someone, if you're looking for our wide receiver help this week, obviously a lot of wide receivers that are good are on bye this week here. He could fill in as a potential flex play, wide receiver 3 for any team that with that kind of upside. You have to notice these kind of things. And with their bye week coming in week 10, I would assume that the Titans would sit Calvin Ridley 1 more week. Why risk it? And then Dyke can get that extra workload in on the offense there. Next guy up I have is Kayshon Boutte from the New England Patriots. I mean, man's been just a touchdown machine over the last 5 weeks now, and he's been performing. He's been getting a little bit more consistent compared to the first 2 or 3 weeks of the season there, where his value is kind of up and down. He's becoming a little consistent where he's a flexible play week in and week out at this time right now. Drake May has been a fantastic thrower, and he's throwing multiple touchdowns per game, and Boutte is benefiting from that here. And again, I'm going back to him this week here. If I'm looking for a wide receiver 3 flex play, Boutte is someone I'm looking to pick up at wide receiver to help my team out for the week. Next guy is a guy that many people may have forgotten in fantasy, and that's Bam Knight of the Arizona Cardinals. I don't think Trey Benson is coming back this week. I think it's still a week 10 return date, maybe week 11, but he's been the RB1 for this team the last 2 weeks here in terms of touches. And they get a really strong matchup this week here. I'm taking Knight, and I don't know if you all saw the news, but Michael Carter got released today. So it's him, it's Dearness Johnson, DeMarcado, but Bam's the guy there. And again, he may be someone who may not be as high on the projection board this week still, but he's a guy that if you don't want to go for Tracy, you don't want to spend big on Tracy, and you want to spend a little bit less on maybe Fab, you're playing in a Fab league, take a shot at Bam Knight because he'll give you 8 to 10 points pretty easily as an RB2 replacement for the week. Next up is Kyle Monangai. And this is more of an upside risky play because Monangai obviously didn't see the 15 plus touches he saw 2 weeks ago. It was a little bit less this week here, but DeAndre Swift is still dealing with injuries. If his injury tends to flare up or something happens over the next 2 weeks, Monangai would find himself in an RB1 role against two amazing defenses that he has to go up against the next coming week. This week at Cincinnati, and God forbid something happens to Swift by Friday. We're hearing that maybe he's not playing or something like that. Again, it's just all speculation. But if that's the case, go get a guy like Monangai now and put him on your roster. Hold him for the week. See what happens with Swift, and it could be a great, short-term play for you during these bye weeks that you have a potential, RB2 for fantasy. All right, going over the other 10 players, other 5 players we have here. Troy Franklin, again, has been seeing consistent targets over the last 3 weeks here now. Obviously, a big game against the Cowboys this week here with 2 touchdowns here. But the targets are there. He's getting consistent targets. And again, the Denver team is looking really good right now. Potential second half breakout for Franklin? Absolutely. So go out and grab him. Again, he's probably more of a long-term play than like the short-term play that DK and Booty may offer you. But Franklin offers long-term outlook for him for the rest of the season. If you're looking for quarterback, Sam Darnold's a guy that I continue to like in fantasy. Coming off a bye, gets the Commanders. You see how bad the Commanders secondary is as Patrick Mahomes tears them up. Again, Sam Darnold has looked pretty good in fantasy so far through this, first 7 to 8 weeks of the season here. And if you're in need of quarterback, maybe you had Jalen Hurts or Baker Mayfield. Sam Darnold's a great 1 week replacement with a solid matchup. Speaking of tight ends, if you're looking for a tight end this week, again, there's a bunch of different options you could go after here. But again, some of the big ones that had big weeks last week, like Mason Taylor, Harold Fanning, they're on bye this week. So you're going to look elsewhere. And one of the best matchups that you could probably go after and get if you didn't see him after last week when he was the starter is Colston Loveland. And Loveland, played a high percentage of snaps. I believe it was 81% of the snaps, probably the most that he's played for most of the season because Cole Kmet was out last week here. And they faced the Bengals, who are terrible against tight ends here, who have allowed more touchdown after touchdown to the tight end position here. If you're looking for a tight end replacement for the week, Loveland is a guy I'd be targeting right now. He should still be widely available because of his poor start to the season here. And if Cole Kmet were to miss week 9 as well, Loveland is a great play for this week. Probably a top 7 or 8 option for us in fantasy. Going back to the quarterback position here, if you're still looking for quarterbacks, Trevor Lawrence, again, another quarterback coming off a bye week right now, gets to face the Raiders, who have been very poor in the secondary for most of the season here. I would assume, hopefully, the Jaguars try to figure out that passing game. Some players got healthy. There's some chemistry building between, Travis Hunter and hopefully Brian Thomas Jr. is ready to go for week 9. Again, Trevor Lawrence has the weapons in the passing game. So hopefully they can kind of get things going. And again, Trevor Lawrence is a good replacement play for you this week in fantasy. Speaking of RBs on bye week, again, this is maybe more for contending teams, maybe not teams that are in pressive need of running back, but Tank Bigsby, Dylan Sampson, again, the injuries to Saquon Barkley and Quinshon Junkins, they didn't seem severe, and they're not really calling them severe per se. But you just never know in situations like this. They're on bye this week, so that you're not going to see Tank Bigsby and Sampson at the top of your free agencies on your platform. They're going to be not showing because they're on bye this week. So it'd be a good time to go and pick those guys up. Maybe you're in need of some depth. You have week 10 buys coming that you could use, maybe a dart throw play. God forbid one of these two, like Barkley and Junkins, were to miss week 10. Pick them up, hold them through the bye, and see what happens because you just never know. We've seen so many injuries this year in fantasy that they could both miss a week. Why force them back like the Eagles? So if they have a decent matchup coming out of the bye, why throw? They play the Packers, so why put him against that defense if he's still kind of recovering? So let Tank Bigsby do it. And again, it's not a great matchup, but it's something. Same thing with the the Browns. Like why rush Junkins back? You have Dylan Sampson for a reason in there, right? So both of them could be week 10 plays maybe, but it's a great time to pick them up now. So, but that is going to wrap us up for a quick waiver wire segment, guys. Quick 10-minute episode, guys. That's what we like to do here. That's what I like to do here on the Fantasy Coaches, give you guys quick hitting takes on certain players. If you're going to look elsewhere, I guess I can name a few other ones that you could go after. Like Tajay Spears is another one at running back that I would go and look forwards. Again, Joe Flacco, he's sitting out there as another guy I would still consider looking at here first in fantasy. Trying to think, Jalen Noel from the Houston Texans. If Christian Kirk is to continue to miss more time, that could be a possibility this coming week here. Trying to think of anyone else off the top of my head. Again, Noah Fant's a decent option if you're looking for a tight end. So there's a couple other players out there. And again, if you have any questions or have any other fantasy advice, maybe there's someone else that I didn't mention, just hit me up over on X or whatever it's called at Coach Stephen P. I'm also over on TikTok at the Coaches Fantasy. You can answer any questions there. I usually post this waiver wire segment up over there as well. So again, if you guys need us, we're here for you guys. And me and Coach Tyler will be back on Thursday to give you guys weekly starts and sits. But until then, guys, we appreciate y'all for listening and tuning in. And have a good one.